So this coming Sunday is Lag Baomer. In fact, some say, I can't verify it, but some say that the most weddings on the Jewish calendar happen on Lag Baomer. I happen to know of two people from Hamilton getting married on Lag Baomer. Hamilton's a small town. But you know what? But nevertheless, Lag Baomer is Sunday. And this year, so this is like we spoke about last week about the heter or shaving during Tzvir in general. That so some people say that L'Kavod Shabbos you could do it every week, but here the Ramah, here the Mon Apr brings down in Shulchan Aruch that when Lag Baomer falls out on Sunday, you can get a haircut on Friday L'Kavod Shabbos. So some want to bring a riot from here, so if it's L'Kavod Shabbos this week, why not L'Kavod Shabbos every week? So here it's a little different because they say if you're going to take a haircut on Sunday, it's going to be a bizayon to Shabbos. In other words, if you don't take a haircut on Sunday, in fact that's the whole discussion. In fact, the Lavush raises, he's the only one I saw a quota. He said he seems to give a different. He says, you know why we do it on Friday? Because the barber shops, the Goyim are closed on Sunday. The blue laws, I remember them, that people used to be closed on Sunday. I don't see how that's covered Shabbos, but he's the only one I saw actually throw that in, saying the barber shops are closed. I know in Borough Park they're open, but so he says therefore get it on Friday. So but I guess that's a combination. I don't know. No, I'm saying no. Ramah does. No, Ramah says he agrees with the Ramah. He just seems to be throwing in a different. The Ramah says covered Shabbos you do it. He just seems to throw in. It's just interesting. I don't see how it's covered Shabbos if the barber shops are. So if the barber shops are open, it's masha from the Lavush that you wouldn't take a hair. You have to wait until Sunday. But I'm saying no. I'm saying it's interesting because you can't really take a haircut on Sunday anyway in most places. But that's not the issue. If it's covered Shabbos, in fact, that's a discussion. If you don't do it on Friday, could you do it Saturday night? In other words, normally the minhag is that there's a discussion Ashkenaz Sfardim, but the minhag Ashkenaz and the Ramah brings down that we usually wait to Lamed Gimel Baomer during the day. We wait till the morning and then we take our haircuts and do everything. But what about the night? What about?
I mean, on Lag Baomer.
Yeah, Lamed Gimel Bayom as opposed to the night of Lag Baomer. In fact, that's a general machlokas, has to do with the dinam of Avelis. There's a famous machlokas Rishonim, Tosfos, and the Ramban. We all know when we finish Shiva, so we sit Shiva in the morning. Well, we sit Shiva for a couple of minutes, and then we mix a Hayom Kakulo. We say we finish the Yudah. You sit for a couple of minutes, 5 minutes, and that's it. So the question is, what about? So it's the end of the Yudah here. So some suggest, what about the night, like of Shiva? Like why wait till the morning? We know in Judaism the day begins at night. So why don't they say mixes halayla kalayla? So in fact that's the Ramban Shita. So machlokas rishonim whether you say mixes hayom or mixes halayla or not. So we paskin generally. Our minhag is anyway that we do Shiva in the morning. We get up in the morning, we sit the night before. We say mixes hayom kakulo. So that's what the Ramah writes, that's the minhag. However, interesting, the Mishnah Berurah quotes some different poskim. He says, but the minhag I've seen is people don't get married the night of Lag Baomer, but people shave and take haircuts. With all due respect to the Mishnah Berurah, I mean, it could have been different, then I see just the opposite. I see today I see what's not going to happen this year because it's Saturday night, but I've seen many weddings happen Lag Baomer at night. In fact, one of my Rebbeim, Reb Nissen Alpert, a Talmud of Ramosha, so I'm sure he had Ramosha's Haskama, when he married off one of his kids, and it's obvious, right? It's also a pragmatic reason that if there aren't only a limited amount of halls, now there are a lot more, and how many weddings could you get during the day? So maybe I never asked him why he did it. I just know he did it. So whether he held it so either way, you definitely have those Rishonim to rely on. But I've seen the opposite. Most people wait for shaving and haircuts to the morning, but I've seen many people have weddings on the night of Lag Baomer.
And how about the night After Lag Baomer, which is the night of the 34th.
No, so for us, I mean, for the Machaber, for the Svardim, again, there's different sheetas in the Svardim, but you have to wait the date. In fact, according to the Machaber, you say Tachlan on Lag Baomer, even on that's a shiloh whether you say Tachlan won't be a shiloh for us this year because Lag Baomer is on Saturday night, but the shiloh, do you say Tachlan at Mincha the day before Lag Baomer? What status does Lag Baomer have? So that's actually a discussion whether you say Tachlan to that Mincha before. But according to the Machaber, you say Tachlan Lag Baomer. It's nothing. It's Lamed Dalet. So again, that would be the same issue then. If it Mixus Halayla would be the night of the 34th. So we pass in generally it's Mixus Hayom Kaku and not Mixus Halayla, and therefore we generally wait. Why do we? So to me it makes sense. Why are weddings different? I mean, there's no mitzvah to shave. Besides what the Rav says, it's a mitzvah for a ben Torah to look kempt all the time. But it's not one of the Taryag mitzvahs. One of the mitzvahs is to get married, so it makes sense if you have a mitzvah. The whole thing's only a minig anyway, and it's a machlokas rishonim that whether you say a balayla. So for a mitzvah, it makes sense that you go ahead and you do the wedding the night before. But I mean, if you're going to the wedding, you can shave also. But I've seen people. There's no reason to wait. If you could wait to the next morning and take a haircut and shave, there's no reason to do it that night.
But as you said last week, the issa, or the minhag of not having weddings, is older than the minhag of not shaving, or not.
Correct. Yeah.
So it would be somewhat incongruous.
No, right.
That we should be matir the chasnas and not matir the.
No, so you want to say that. You want to say that's the pshat in the Mishnah Brewer's poskim, that the people who say you're explaining the later minhag, the minhag that he says was the minhag. You're explaining why they waited for wedding, so the wedding was a stronger minhag because it was earlier. But haircuts came later. Yeah, that's true. But the other sheet is saying is, but on the other hand, the wedding's a mitzvah, and therefore to push off a wedding, if you do the mitzvah the night before, there's more room to be lenient versus shaving. There's no mitzvah per se. You're right. Now that would explain. I'm agreeing, that is true. That's the historic reality. First came, it goes like this. The Gemara in Yevamah says that 12,000 pairs of Rabbi Akiva's students died. Mi-Pesach L'Atzeres. Doesn't say anything about Avelis. The Meiri quotes the Kabbalah B'Yad HaGaonim. He has a Kabbalah from the Gaonim, the issue of marriage. And then later on, the next stage was haircuts and shaving, and then the next step, if there is a next step, was dancing and music. The Magen Avram brings up dancing, and then the Aruch HaShulchan and others extend it to music. But
dancing, you mean Rikudim HaMacholos? Yeah,
Rikudim HaMacholos. Right? That's the Magen Avram. That's us during Svira. So that's a discussion. So if you didn't get a haircut with covered Shabbos, does the heter apply on Saturday night? Or do you say, I pass and mixes Hayom Kukulo, I wait? That's actually a discussion among the poskim. If do you say cave into Ishtari is around? Do I say once you had a heter to shave Friday, end the discussion because it's right now it's the Lag Baomer. It is the end of the Svira, assuming it is the end. In fact,
don't you have competing interests here? You have it's the last day of Avelis, but also it's the day of Yom Tov in itself, right? You're not saying Tachna.
Right.
So that, let's say no mitzvah Yom Kifula.
Right.
Which one wins over there?
No, right. So that's what we see by Yikar Hadin, that the mitzvah wins because we do weddings that night. So we do that.
Well, that could be mitzvah Yom Kifula.
No, but I'm saying, what I'm saying is that, but we don't, because I'm saying we usually pass the mixes hayom because we're not mixes halayla.
It could be mixes halayla.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, if no mitzvahs, is there necessarily the Velus would win out over the Simcha part? Do you need to start with that spar at all?
No, well, it's a good question. Pashas Lag Baomer itself should win out.
That's what I would think.
Yeah, we'll see. The issue why it's not, because it's only what the Ramah calls a mixas yantif. So exactly what does mixas yantif mean? But Right, that would be dependent. If it was a yontif, there'd be nothing to talk about. It was a real, full-fledged...
Yeah. I think that's bare minimum. You throw that into the mix.
I agree. No, it is because it's all. That's why it's a mix with yontif. So therefore, if it was a regular yontif, then it shouldn't be an issue. Then you should be able, then everyone. It should be over because yontif is mafkia the avelis.
Altogether, how can you have a day in the middle of the avelis, in the middle of the Ben Pesach Hatzeres? But you have a day in the middle, which is not.
According to everyone, you can shave.
More, if they die all those weeks, then more are going to die the following days.
No, exactly.
How can we be?
That gets into the discussion. Did they actually? So Meiri's the one who writes that Pasku the students stopped dying like Baomer. But others say.
What about the next day after that?
That was it. They finished. That was the end. That's the Meiri writes that he got a minig miyad hagaonim, he quotes. No, but nowhere in the Gemara. So therefore, according to him, but other shittas is not. It's totally not true. In fact, these days are. They figure out there are 33 days where they die. We don't even know which days. So you're picking a token date. These aren't necessarily days that they died on or not. So depending on which school of thought you go with, but
so where does the figure of 33 come from?
No, they think because that's when a different text in the Gemara it says process errors, and they learn out half of Atzeres. They figure it out minus 15. They come up with the cheshbon of because all the Gemara says mipesach ad Atzeres. So there's another gersa that says that maybe it's half before Atzeres, and they come up with different cheshbonos, 33, 34. In terms of what happened, but your point is well taken. Some want to say this heter of shaving on Erev Shabbos is only, and you could argue it either way, but some say it only applies to those who are finishing the Svira, because now it's over. But those who follow from Rosh Chodesh Iyar, that I saw some bring down that the problem is the Ramah seems to say both. The Ramah seems to go with that even, but that's a discussion among the poskim. Who could shave tomorrow? Is it only the people who finish Avelis on Baomer, or is it also is it also for the people who are who just taking a step in? Because it is a strange concept in the middle of Avelis. Because usually Yanta is mafkia Avelis, but here it's not a full Yanta. But that's a discussion among that. They get into also the Shabbos. Erev Rosh Chodesh Iyar comes out on a Friday. The different days where they all pick they get into this issue of Kavod Shabbos because you have Rosh Chodesh and Shabbos. So maybe that's the post can get into all the different opinions in terms of. But the bottom line is the minig the Ramah brings down and the accepted minig is that people could shave and take a haircut tomorrow. Is it tonight or tomorrow? I guess if tonight was tonight's pretty late, you have to wait. But I guess in theory, if it's Kavod Shabbos, the only time you can take a haircut is midnight tonight, or 10. Then I guess you could take one tonight. There's no din, most if you go, but practically speaking, you'd be waiting to tomorrow anyway and doing it. But that's what the Ramah writes. The question is, what's pshat to mix this yanta? What does that mean? Do we have any precedent for this? So. The fact that, as the Meiri writes, B'yad HaGaonim, that the 24,000, I like to work with the Meiri, that the 24,000 students stopped dying on Lag Baomer, and that was the end of it. So it's a mixed yontif. So where do we have a precedent to this? So there's a famous Bir Hagron on a different yontif. The Gemara at the end of Tainus, the Gemara says the two happiest days of the year, Yom Kippur and Tu B'Av. So the Gemara says Bishchol Yom HaKippurim Yom Slichul Mechila. But Tu B'Av, no one even heard of Tu B'Av. Forget about what happened on it. The Tu B'Av, what happened? The Gemara will say that's for Tu B'Av Shir. But the one relevant to us, what happened is that Macy, the Jews who were destined to die in the Midbar, they stopped dying. The famous Medrash or the Gemara that tells us that every year on Tisha B'Av, through the 40 years they were traveling in the desert, they used to dig graves and used to go to sleep. Those who woke up got up and helped finish off the burial. And every year, until the 40th year, everyone got up. They said, oh, we must have messed up the count. They did it another day, 10, 11, 12, until they saw the full moon out. Okay, they realized that God said, that's it. We're going to let you go this year. No one's going to die. So the Gemara, so they call it a mixus yanta. So too, that's similar to the lesson of the Ramah. So that seems to be that could be shot in the Ramah. We still have to explain it. But the fact that where else do we find the fact that a tragedy ended? That's a mixus yanta. I agree, it's the end of a tragedy, but why would I call it a mix? So we see from already two Bav. So but still, it doesn't make any sense. Still, you could argue that maybe that's not what they're celebrating on Tu B'Av. In fact, that's a discussion anyway, if you need all 5, 6 reasons to celebrate Tu B'Av, or one of the 5. So assuming 1 out of the 5 is enough, so then something, but they weren't celebrating the fact that all the people stopped dying. I'm sure they weren't dying, but they were celebrating the fact that they were fulfilling now the mission. They were going into Eretz Yisrael now. That's what they were celebrating. But you can't. So what were they celebrating by the death of Rabbi Akiva? As the Pri Chadash asked, what do you mean they were celebrating? You know why? There was no one left. What kind of celebration is it? Everyone died already. Let's celebrate. Everyone's dead now. I mean, it's not like some plague got stopped in the middle and you were stopped. The people died, except we'll see the 5 students of Rabbi Akiva.
The Rambam brings only one of those 6.
In Tu B'Av?
Tu B'Av, yeah. The Gemara gives 6 reasons.
Right.
He cites only one.
Which one?
I think the one you were taking. I'm not quite sure, but I think the one
right, so that'd be a raya for those sheetas that anyone would be enough. Right, that's what the Vilna Gaon raises. Do you need all? Is it the combination of all the reasons or any one? So, if the Ramah seems to be working like the Rambam, or that one's enough, and therefore that working with assuming the Meiri is right, that they stopped dying on Lag Baomer, that's a mixus yanta. But there's a Pri Chadash. What's the simcha? So hence the Pri Chadash explains, no, we're not celebrating the fact that he's dead. We're not celebrating the fact that they stopped dying. We're celebrating the second part. That if Hamidu Talmidim, the 5 Talmidim, which one of them was with Shimon Bar Yochai, and it shows the resilience that he went ahead after losing 24,000 students, and these 5 students came along, and with Rabbi Akiva, etc., and they spread. Without them, the Torah would have been forgotten. That's what we're celebrating. So we're not celebrating per se that the mere end of it, but it's the fact that what the result was. So it's not that we're celebrating that the end of the death of the Mesi HaMidbar. It's the fact that we're entering Eretz Yisrael. But either way, that's what the Meiri. That's one shot in the Ramah. A mixus yantiv could be similar to Tu B'Av. You have a question?
Where's Mixas Yomtov first mentioned, that expression, Mixas Yomtov?
Yeah, well, it's definitely mentioned by Lag Baomer. So either, I'm not sure if the Shulchan Aruch mentions it also by Tu B'Av or...
No, I'm talking about Lag Baomer.
Yeah, it's in the Ramah.
The Ramah mentions
Shulchan Aruch, the Ramah, the Machaber, one of the two. I just saw it this morning in the Mixas Yantiv. And so I'm not sure if it's the Lashon... I think it's either the Gruz... I saw... Either some of the Mefarshim say it by Tu B'Av or not, but it's by Lag Baomer, that's the Lashon HaRamah. And I think the Bir HaGra writes, if I haven't seen for a while, but if I recall, the Bir HaGra Lag Baomer says, as he always does in cryptic fashion, Ayin Gemara Tainus, I think Chavav, whatever the Gemara is, and then he doesn't spell it out. He's sending you to that Gemara, and he's giving you a source for the Ramah. Well, that we see at the end of a tragedy is a mixus yantiv. That's what it's based on. So that's,
of course, it's the yantiv of Shidduchim, so...
Yeah, that's something they're right.
That's sort of added to...
And that's even added after, it's not even one of the 6 reasons. After that, the Gemara goes on to explain. So that's one thing. However, there's another famous reason associated, and there are tens of thousands of people going to Meirod. Which, I heard someone told me they were thinking of changing Lag Baomer this year to Monday, like they did Yom HaShoah and Yom HaTzvut, because the concern of Chilul Shabbos the night before. So obviously, I guess they can't change the date, but I guess you could go to Meirod Ma'amadawa Baomer. That'd be good for the Sfardim. Even though I see a lot of Sfardim there on Lag Baomer, I guess you could always go to the grave of the tzaddikim, but I don't think, that's what someone mentioned that they were thinking of doing. But either way, so the Chidah is the first one to mention this, that Lag Baomer is the day of the death of Rav Shimon Bar Yochai. And he writes, Hilula de Rav Shimon Bar Yochai. It's a big party for Rav Shimon Bar Yochai. And the kasha is, let's assume the Chidah is right, that it is the day he died. But last I checked, if you look at the Shulchan Aruch and how you observe your sites, I know there's a whole discussion. You're correct. There's a discussion among the Litvish and the Hasidish. It says it's in Shulchan Aruch Misanim, fast or feast. And Rabbi Yaakov Kamenetsky isn't happy with feast. As I like pointing out, he says, what happened? Just like we have an Erev Pesach for the sea, what do we do to avoid fasting? So we let them do a siyum. So the old minhag was people made a siyum on the yard side, and afterwards you made a tikkun, you made suda. So what happened? They kept the tikkun and dropped the siyum. That's what I'm sure the Hasidim have a different pshat, but they, Mazel Ra. Another hand, it's mixed emotions. The yard side. On one hand, you remember all the good memories as well. But the Shulchan Aruch says misanim, you fast. Whether you fast or not, your own issue. But in Shulchan Aruch says misanim, you fast. So what do you mean? So let's assume it's true. So why would we celebrate the anniversary of the Yortzeit of Shimon Bar Yochai? Last I checked, I know it might be blasphemous to some, but I want to go on the record. I think Moshe Rabbeinu was greater than Rav Shimon Bar Yochai. And Zayin Adar, albeit it's his birthday also, we don't have a big celebration on the anniversary of his death. So what is it? So why by Rav Shimon Bar Yochai was celebrating his anniversary? We have big parties by the kever, but by Moshe Rabbeinu, no. Well, Moshe Rabbeinu, we don't know who his kever is, and it's because they didn't want to make a shrine out of it, like the same reason Lahavdil Alfei Elef Abdullah, when the seals killed the Russians, that's why they didn't want to. They dumped him in the water somewhere. They claimed no one wanted him, but they knew if they buried him somewhere, it would become a shrine. People would get killed. They'd be fighting over. They'd become holy ground. So God also realized that it was Moshe Rabbeinu. They didn't want people to start making the death, and even Yaakov alluded to that. Don't bury me in Egypt because they're going to make a god out of me. That was the practice of taking graves and people deifying them. And also, you don't want to make it into a Disney, a tourist trap. Everyone's going to pay to see Moshe. So therefore, we don't know where Moshe's burial is. So the point being is, that someone to point out, of course, Moshe Rabbeinu is greater than Shimon Bar Yochai, but it's the manner of the way they died. That's what we're celebrating. Moshe's death was very sad. What do you mean it was sad? All death is sad, but sad in the fact that Moshe Rabbeinu was only able to be a bystander and a witness. He wasn't able to enter Eretz Yisrael HaKatosha. And that was one of his life dreams. He was mitzvah to fulfill the mitzvahs atruyas ba'aretz. So it was sad. He died because he couldn't even make it in. So it wasn't the best ending for Moshe Rabbeinu. However, Shimon Bar Yochai, he revealed the Zohar on that day. He revealed the secrets of the Torah according to this tradition. Therefore, that's why it's a celebration. Again, it's not celebrating the death of Rav Shimon Bar Yochai, but he revealed the secrets of the Zohar on that day. That's what we're celebrating. Interesting, the Moadim Bizbadim is a very interesting pshat. Even he writes, Rachok or Dachok, Rachok Ksat. It's very far-fetched, but it's definitely interesting, maybe not compelling.
Zohar, so what happened to it?
What happened?
How did it get lost for 1,000 years if he revealed it?
You got to speak to the historian. It's good kasha what happened then, because some people say it got lost because that wasn't the time. You could come up with different speculations, but
it's about the 13th century.
Yeah.
So it was kept a secret.
It's only for Yechidim and that.
And that's what I always thought. It was his own little book,
which is pretty unlikely.
But if it was revealed, then
pretty unlikely.
No, maybe revealed this to a small group, not this way. It wasn't even, everyone found out later. They told the secret. They put it in when you find it. They told the secret. We always had it, but we couldn't show it to you. It wasn't the right time yet. Everything's about timing. But either way,
why was it not the right time?
I don't know why. Because the Shema Yochai didn't think it was. Assuming you accept this, I'm saying obviously he didn't think it was the right time. He didn't see what it revealed, or God had it hidden. I don't know exactly why. I'm just saying in retrospect it wasn't revealed. I don't know, maybe it wasn't intentional. Maybe it was. But the Mon Apr is a very interesting choice. You know why? It's a celebration for Shema Yochai because the Gemara in Shabbos goes through the whole story when the Romans wanted to put out a decree, wanted to kill a lot of Jews, and they were successful on some, and so they wanted to kill Rav Shimon Bar Yochai. He was teaching Torah Barabim, so he was running for his life. And the Gemara tells us, the Medrash, he went to the cave with the sun, and he was miraculously the carob tree. They took their clothes off, and they were underground, and they were learning for like many years, 12 years in the cave, I think it was. And then he walked out, and he saw people working, and he got steam. He burned them up, and God said, Basko came out. You're not ready. Get back into the cave. He goes back in. He learns for a couple more years. He comes back out, and he sees someone bringing flowers, apparently to his wife for Shabbos. Oh wow, it's unbelievable. You could take a mundane thing like flowers and do it. So, he was ready now for this world. So Ramon is right. So since Rav Shimon Bar Yochai, he should have died. He was supposed to be killed by the sword. He was supposed to be killed by the Romans. It was a nace that he survived the Romans for all that years. The fact that he died a natural death later on, that's what we're celebrating. We're celebrating all those extra years he had. He should have died, whatever, I don't know, was it 10, 20, whatever, however the time period was between the Romans trying to kill him and that's what we're celebrating. There's a big difference. Maybe it's a separate share another time in terms of celebrating, I say, the death of a human being, albeit a terrible human being, a Russia like Osama bin Laden. That's the whole discussion. What is the appropriate reaction? Should you be high-fiving, or should you be partying, or be happy? In terms of that was the reaction. That's when I found out. It was Sunday night. ESPN Game of the Week. The Mets were playing the Phillies. Not that I was watching the game. I was switching channels about 12 o'clock at night. I was falling asleep, and I see on the bottom Osama bin Laden was captured. So then the fans were going crazy. USA, USA. They weren't screaming death to whoever. They were to the question. So when let's say when Arafat died, a frail old man at 70, 80, whatever he was. That's not Kiddush Hashem. Any person dies, he died a normal death. But, whether it was a Kiddush Hashem to kill someone, one could discuss. It was definitely a good thing that he's dead now. So the question is, over here, it's kind of like the similar here, that basically, if he's supposed to be, it was a miraculous that he survived, and therefore, that's what even he writes, it's very rachok, it's very far-fetched, but it was interesting enough for him to write it down. And hence interesting enough for me to say it, but it's not that compelling. But that's another reason they throw out in terms of why they celebrate Rosh Hashanah. It's interesting, assuming it's true, the Zohar was revealed that there's a connection between Purim and Lag Baomer. In the Svarim HaKadoshim, they write toLag. toLag stands pay is Purim, Lag Baomer. Forget about mystical stuff. What direct link do we know that there's some connection between Purim? What common theme does Purim and Lag BaOmer have every year? It's the same one that Pesach and Tisha B'Av have.
Same day of the week.
Same day of the week. Purim happened on Sunday. Hence, I know Lag BaOmer is going to happen on Sunday. So what exactly is this link? There is some link. There's a lot of Torahs on the link between Pesach and Tisha B'Av. We'll save that for either Tisha B'Av or Pesach. But what's the link between Purim and Lag BaOmer? So interesting, they point out, the Chasam Sofer, others, that what happened, the Chasam Sofer writes, what happened well before the death of the Shimon Bar Yochai, or well before the death of Rabbi Akiva's students, something very bad happened on Yud Chaziyar. I guess I guess at the point when I'm going to tell you there was no mitzvah spira yet, it was Kodem Matan Torah. It's the day the Mabul started. He has a whole, the different sheets, he has a whole big calculation. I don't really care what it is, but he concludes that Yud Ches Iyar was the day that the Mabul started. So it started off, Yud Ches Iyar was the day of a Mabul, obviously not a good thing. And what happened later on, during the time of Moshe Rabbeinu, what good things started at Yud Ches Iyar many years later?
Well, how do we know for sure that the Mabul was such a bad thing?
No, I'm saying, well, what I'm saying is...
Like Osama being dead is a good thing, the Mabul could have been...
No, right, I'm saying, right, I don't mean from a theological point of view, obviously, in terms of the world being destroyed, so it could have been, I meant it was a tragedy that, people, and the people were killed there, but you're right, actually, no, it might be...
What day were the Egyptians drowned in the Red Sea? Was it...
That was Shvi Shel Pesach.
Or...
Shvi Shel Pesach.
7 days after Pesach?
The seventh day, yeah.
The seventh day of Pesach.
Yeah, so what do they say? So he says the man started falling on Yud Ches Iyar. So we see the Chassan Sofer, right, that we see Yud Ches Iyar started off at a very, inauspicious day with the Mabul, but it ended up with on the high note. And you could question the Mabul.
So what did they eat from Yud Dalet Nisan to Yud Ches Iyar? It's like a month.
No, that was before they had food. They were, in Egypt, it's only when they traveled in the Midbar they had the man. So before they had other food, they ate in Egypt or wherever they were. So to here, he says Purim. Purim also started off, Gzeira from Hamil, Lahashmil, Laharo is called Yehudim. It started off as a terrible day, a decree, all the Jews will be killed, and it ended up being a Yeshua. So he wants to point, that's another link between Purim and Lag BaOmer, that they started off as inauspicious times, but ended off on the high note. Or along another line, we could explain as follows.
Where does he have the date of the Mabul?
Whatever he figures.
The Mabul was more special.
He discusses all. He discusses the two different dates. So I'm not saying it's special. I'm just going. That's really right. I'm not going into the cheshbon, but. It's basing it on different things, which are machlokas, and that was according to, if you take a certain cheshbon, you can work it out. So, whether it's compelling or not, I'll leave to you. But another reason, not the Chasam Sofer, but I saw others bring down a link between Purim and Lag BaOmer. If we're assuming Lag BaOmer, we say it's the day where the Zohar, where the Shemar Yochai revealed the Kabbalah. So they point out. We know that the 40, I'll get to that in a second, the 49 days between Pesach and Shavuos. How many days between Purim and Lag BaOmer? I didn't count them, but they tell me 64. So 7 times 7 is 49, 8 times 8 is 64. So as in the Svarim, right, the number 7 is always Derech HaTeva, 7 days of the week. The 7-year Shemitah cycle. 8 is always L'mala Miderech HaTeva. The bris of a Yid, Hanukkah. So therefore they point out, so on Pesach, on Shavuos, what do we get? We got the Chamisha Chumshei Torah. We got the open, the revealed Torah, the natural Torah, so to speak. And what happened on Lag BaOmer? We got the Kabbalah, we got the number 8, the L'mala Miderech HaTeva. In fact, Rav Shachta likes saying, borrowing from the phrase in the Mishnah Rosh Hashanah, Arba Rosh Hashanah, and the 4 types of Rosh Hashanah, he wants to say we have 4 days for Kabbalah HaTorah. Number 1 is obviously Shavuos, the Luchas Rishonos, the Torah was given. What's the second day? The Luchas Shnias, the second tablet, that was Yom Kippur. The third day is Purim, the Kedushas HaLevi writes, based on the Gemara in Shabbos, Kimu v'Kiblu, there was acceptance of the Torah Shabbat Peh on Purim, the expulsion of Torah Shabbat Peh, and the fourth one is Lag BaOmer, is the Kabbalah Torah of Kabbalah. And so therefore, if you're going to work with the Yesod, that why do we have a Chi of Suda on Purim all these days, because it was a day of Kabbalah Torah. That's why on Chanukah nah. So therefore, I'm sure you want to have a barbecue anyway, Lag BaOmer. But based on, if you assume it's a Kabbalah Torah, then, it's part of a mixed Yantav. It's another reason to have a Suda.
Why was it Kabbalah Torah on Lag Baomer?
No, Kabbalah is this.
Kabbalah on
No, Kabbalah Torah is Kabbalah, he's saying.
These people really say that Shumbar Chai, it says he revealed the Torah, the Nister. He has his own revelation, or people say that maybe a Rizal, but Rizal seems to have his own private revelation and reveal new ideas, which is a real problem in terms of Masorah. But I thought the Shumbar Echad they had a Masorah.
Yeah, I'm not saying he revealed, but it doesn't mean he took his own. He just made up its own stuff and then. He's
saying it's actually a new introduction.
No, I think it made it sound like he actually revealed it to some people. I'm not sure who taught. I'm not sure where he got it from.
No,
yeah.
People say by the reason it's almost like a new.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I said because the Radvaz was his Rebbe. I said he lived to 110 and he just taught him all the halacha, but the Kabbalah, I think whoever teaches you Kabbalah, Malachim, I don't know how does it work, but that's what I'm saying. The whole, it's the whole
fundamental.
Exactly, yeah. That's why I usually stay away from Kabbalah. But I'm saying,
You were just explaining why Lag Baomer is.
No, I was just saying. Rav Shechter saying he just. He's not saying it like a Torah psak. He's just saying we have 4 days of Kabbalah Torah.
Yeah, but why Lag Baomer?
No, he's saying because Shimba Yochai, he introduced, the Torah of Kabbalah. We have the Torah Shabbat. We have Torah. It's just a drush. You don't have to make.
The Chasam Sofer says this in his Chuvas or in his droshes.
No, which part?
You said this is Chasam Sofer.
No, some of it was the Chasam. The Chasam Sofer said about the man. And the Mabul and about it went from Golas to Gula. He says that. He hasn't said this part.
So who says the part about the 4 days of Kabbalah Torah?
That's Rav Shechter is saying it.
Oh, today's Rav Shechter.
Yeah, Rav Hershel Shechter. That's where I heard it from anyway.
But they probably quote some other.
No, I heard a totally different concept. I'm just bringing it in because he didn't talk about this at all. I just heard him say it once. I'm just bringing it in. He talked about it in different context. He just says Derek Drush. He talked after the flourish. He said one time, on the 4th day. I don't know how serious he meant, Lag Baomer. I was just saying it because you said Purim with Kabbalah. So I'm just throwing it in. It's not he's not saying it al pi halacha. It's a chiyav suda. But he's just throwing it out as another efshar. In fact, speaking of finding the Rav Lehman, Rav Shneur Lehman, what's the historian? Is it Lehman? The one who lives in Flatbush? Who's the big, the firm historian? Shneur Lehman? I'm not saying that's not the guy. You never heard of him?
Shneur Lehman. So, in connection with what?
No, anything. It's a historian. I'll tell you what he says in a second. I thought that's his name. Okay, maybe I'm getting the name wrong. I thought that was his name. But he writes, they found a couple of years ago.
Oh, the professor at NYU?
YU, I know, or maybe NYU, I'm not sure. Yeah.
That's not his name, Sherwin or something.
That's someone else then. Either way, so whoever it is, doesn't make a difference, but he claims they found a couple of years in the Cairo Geniza. They found something, Lag Baomer, or I should say Yudches Iyar, or maybe it was Lag Baomer, the notes, because maybe they would count. If Sphere was the right, then maybe they started counting then. But during, it used to be a Yom Tainus Lag Baomer, which even makes it stronger, that it became a Mitzvah Yantiv. Why he quotes from the Cairo Geniza, why were they fasting? Because one of the great tzaddikim died on that day. Who? Yoshua ben Nun. He claims it was the day that Yoshua ben Nun died, and it used to be a Yom Tainus. So this, again, so as the Chasam Sofer writes, all this Lag Baomer is not rooted in Shas or Poskim. It's all much later. And the Chasam Sofer, by the way, is very against celebrating Lag Baomer. In America, he'd probably be against it because anyway, he might think it's Bittul Torah, taking the day off and going to the parks and barbecuing. There are no celebrations here. But in Eretz Yisrael, when people make a big yontif, he was concerned it was Baal Tosef. I'm not saying he Asr than that, but he has a discussion where he thinks they overdid it by Lag Baomer. It gets into Bikove or a new Yantif, and therefore so he was against the whole overly celebrating in the first place. And the whole day really is very ambiguous because in terms of about Lag Baomer, did Rabbi Akiva's student stop dying then? What do you mean? Did he reveal the Zohar? What?
Did he say Tachman?
Yeah, but could it be? Because he could say Tachman anyway. It's not a big deal. It's only a minute. So I'm just saying is.
Okay.
I don't know. Yeah, but so what? So that's different. No, but I assume he didn't say Tachman because he said no. It's okay to be a day in Isser, like don't have eulogies and don't fast. But no, yeah, I'm sure he did. But he's saying to make it into a Yontif for Klal Yisrael. He's saying you're going on the borders of Al Tosef. Yeah.
Sfardim celebrate they do things on the 31st.
That's okay, because I'm saying, but I see a lot of Sfardim on Meiron, and I was just thinking about that as I was saying.
But they hold the 33rd day is not the day that doesn't stop, it's the 34th.
I know, but why are they all there then on the 30th? Or they go
I'm wondering if that's anything to do with that Karaganiza thing, that they already, on the 33rd, do they say Tachanun? Can you fast on the 33rd?
No, according to, I know according to the Machaber, you should say Tachanun
on the
33rd day. And some even say Mincha the day before Lag Baomer, you say Tachanun. So according to some, even Mincha of Lag Baomer, they'd be saying Tachanun.
Because it's really, that's interesting because it's in Karaganiza, so it seems to support the fact that maybe Yoschatziyar was at some, it was the next day that they said that they...
Yeah, and this, by the way, that's why, but that concept of assuming that they did die on Lam and Gimel, so what do? We finish off, we finish off the Avelut and then we have a party, that's what I mentioned, that's what Rabbi Tait, who was one of the, he'd actually... in America we don't really have kehilas in towns. In Europe you have kehilas. But he was, not anymore, but the closest thing, I don't know, in the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, he basically ran in Elizabeth, New Jersey. He was the Rav of the whole town. So in one of the discussions on Yom HaShoah, and picking what day, whether it's Asar B'Tevis, Tisha B'Av, so he had an interesting suggestion, which wasn't accepted, but I liked it anyway. He said, you know what? It should be a Yom Tainus the day before Lag Baomer. I guess not this day for the Shabbos. But why what happened on the day before Lag Baomer? So he claims that's the anniversary of Hitler's suicide. And therefore he says you go from the celebrate like the end of the death of Rabbi Akiva's student, and we go, so too we're celebrating the death of Hitler, we fast on the day, all the terrible things, and then we go ahead and celebrate Lag Baomer. So he claims Hitler's suicide happened on Erev Lag Baomer, but again, I have no comment. I assume he checked it out. It's true. I have no idea. But either way, we didn't pick that day for Yom HaShoah. Anyway, the whole issue with Yom HaShoah more is the Yom Tainus, but Yom HaShoah isn't a Yom Tainus anyway, which is a separate issue, a separate discussion.
Would Hitler's death be a reason for Tainus?
If
anything, Haman's death was not a reason for Tainus.
No, so therefore, so to speak, his suicide, so basically we're fasting for all the tsar he caused, and then we're celebrating, right after, showing we're happy for the death of, right, you can argue the day before, I'm saying, intelligent people could debate that issue.
Yeah.
Yeah.